July 1775, navigator Don Bruno de Heceta, who was sailing for Spain, had 7 of his men killed by the local Quinault Indians on a desolate 30-acre island, about 3 miles off the Washington coast. Heceta called it Isla de los Dolores, or Island of Sorrows. A few years later, a party of British explorers had a similar encounter with the natives on the mainland nearby, and the English named the island Destruction after the loss of life. The government considered putting a lighthouse on Destruction Island as early as 1855 to warn coastal shipping traffic away from the treacherous ledges that extend for a mile to the island's south. As shipping increased, there were several shipwrecks around Destruction Island around 1888 and 1889. As a result, a lighthouse was built between 1889 and 1891, with the work supervised by the Army Corps of Engineers. Construction was often hindered by harsh weather. The day after a storm in the spring of 1889, the work crew reported seeing a schooner upside down near the island. The brick tower, standing on a sandstone base, is 94 feet tall, sheathed in a layer of iron. 2 keepers' dwellings were built, each with 6 rooms, to house 3 keepers and their families. A massive first-order Fresnel lens was installed, almost 9 feet tall and consisting of 1,176 individual prisms. One writer likened it to a fairy tale greenhouse. The first lighting was on New Year's Day of 1892. The first principal keeper was Christian Zahner, who later served 27 years at Gray's Harbor Light. Destruction Island was among the most isolated light stations on the west coast, but there was decent soil for growing vegetables. The keepers and their families kept a variety of animals, including cows, pigs, and chickens. For a while, there were enough children on the island to justify the presence of a small schoolhouse. Flocks of wild fowl often flew into the lantern glass, blinded by the light and driven by strong winds. After a stormy night, it was not unusual for the keepers to pick up 25 dead birds around the base of the tower. The keepers sometimes watched the spectacle of local Indians in their canoes, spearfishing for whales. For many years, the chief means of access to the island when landing people or supplies was a derrick and boom with an attached basket. In later years under the Coast Guard, access was usually accomplished by helicopter. The light was automated and destaffed in 1968. The Fresnel lens was removed in 1995, and in its last years as an aid to navigation, the light was produced by a small, solar-powered optic mounted outside the lantern. The first-order Fresnel lens is now on display at the Westport Maritime Museum. The Coast Guard deemed the lighthouse unnecessary and discontinued it in 2008. With nobody caring for it, the tower is falling into ruin. The 2 keepers' dwellings have been demolished, but some of the outbuildings still stand. To see the lighthouse from shore, bring your best binoculars or a long camera lens and hope for clear weather.